Hello, everybody. Welcome to the music show. I'm Ray Braselton, your host.
And I'm Nick Rita, co-host.
Well, today we have for you the Towpath Volunteer Fife and Drum Corps from Maston, New York. I think you'll enjoy them very much. They have a lot of history behind them. probably 25 years or more. More than that, I believe.
I think
78,
Paul said,
wasn't it?
Paul said it was closer to 30 years.
so
some of them have been with it for as long as 20, 25
Right.
years, which is...
A couple of the people that you'll see in the show today one was 17 years, I think the other was 20 years.
Yeah, Patricia, I think, said she was 20.
And just a remarkable group. Have played before dignitaries, have played in famous parades like Macy's. You'll see some footage from some of their parades that they've done, and you'll also see their special little group called, let's see if I get it right this time.
Let's see.
The Color Guard, right?
No, the honor guard. The
I'll never get it right.
Yeah. Well,
It's just me. What can I say?
What I found was amazing is one of the largest groups of its kind in the United States,
Yes.
and quite possibly in the world.
The world,
Yeah,
right. There's
so
over 100 strong,
right.
more than 100 people involved, from Maston, New York, which is amazing. And I was a part of that. So,
Well, you got to say something, too, for the longevity of it.
oh, absolutely.
For it to stay together and be productive as long as it has.
They've got three actually groups within this big group, and one is the beginners group, which is called the juniors.
The junior guard, right.
Then you have the senior group,
Right.
and then you have the
What was that?
honor guard.
Right. We'll find out more about it during the round table and
more about it.
the
So
interview.
you'll
You'll get the accurate information there.
But we do have the showcase, which you will
Yes,
enjoy, where Paul takes one of his members and helps you to learn about the interesting drums that they used back in the 1800s
Right.
that are still working for this Fife and Drum Corps
Using
now.
a lot replicas that are pretty
Yeah.
much
Oh, yeah.
similar to what they had way back then.
You'll learn about that from him, and that's very, very interesting. You'll enjoy that. And then, of course, we have our Uncle Nick's Corner
Right.
and our round
All our
table
regular,
and interview and everything.
It's going to have a different feel to the whole program, but it's going to be pretty much the same format that we always use.
You're going to enjoy it.
It'll
So
be pretty nice.
stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Yankee Doodle, old into new. Chester.
Welcome to the Music Show. I'm Ray Braselton, your host, and we are at the interview segment of our show that we do every week. And I'm going to, this is, by the way, the Towpath Volunteers from Maston, New York. And I'm going to introduce, starting from you, Patricia, your name and, well, how long you've been with the group. I'll let you go.
Okay. My name is Patricia Rowland, and I've been with the group for 20 years.
My name is Julie Kirsten. I've been with the group for 17 years.
My name is Jasmine Need, and I've been with the group for 4 years.
Hi, I'm Dan Courtney. I've been with the group for about 6 years.
I'm Ashley Osinski. I've been in the group for about 4 years.
I'm Mike Dunn from Palmyra. I've been in the group for about 8 years.
I'm Rose Wester from Marion, and I've been with the group for 5 years.
There you go. I'm amazed at the amount of years. We add them all up. Well, we got 100 years here? Or, no, I don't know if we have that much, but we're doing pretty good here. I was surprised that you're old enough to be here for 17 years. You are.
Yes.
Either one of you. What are you talking? So, yeah, I remember those days. It's been a few years for me, except I haven't been in it that long. I'm out of it right now, but hope to come back another 20 years. So, look, I guess we'll start with Patricia. You're the kind of the official head of this group, and what is this? This is just part of the Maston Fife and Drum Corps, just part of it. What is this called?
This is the Honor Guard, and all of the people that you see here play with the Senior Corps, which is the group that if you go to see one of the parades and you see the large corps, that's what that is. And these guys, they want to play a little bit more, so they have the opportunity to play additional songs and sometimes more complicated songs. And a lot of times when there's a request to play for something like a dedication of a monument or, a small official civic doing of some sort, they don't really want a huge group, but they'd like a couple fifers and a couple of drummers, and so usually this is the group that's sent to do that.
Well, they're a little bit, maybe a little more expertise. They've been here for a while, know the ropes a little bit better maybe than some of them. Do you guys help teach the other ones, the younger ones, or are you involved mainly with that, Patricia?
Well, I am involved, and actually a lot of these guys also do help with some of the teaching. There are a lot of fifers, though, in the Senior Corps that are fantastic fifers, but don't choose to do the Honor Guard. It's a little bit more of a time commitment. So it's the people that are in the Honor Guard are not necessarily the ones teaching, but there is a lot of overlap.
Well, that's the color guard for you. Now, we also, the whole group is called, again, the Towpath Volunteers, right, from Madison.
Correct.
And they play all over the country. We're going to get more into that during the roundtable, of course. We're going to have some fun with at the roundtable. But some of the stuff you've done for us so far have been very, very, very nice. And we have a bunch of clips coming up and everything for the show of parades and everything. So I would say we covered most everything. I guess at this point, well, let me ask you a couple more questions. What got you, I can ask you because I don't have the whole group to ask, so I'll let you represent the whole group. What got you interested in joining the Fife and Drum Corps? Could we ask, say, how about either one of you? What got you involved?
Well, I got into it because I wanted something to do while I was after high school. I played in band in high school and enjoyed it, and I wanted to continue being a musician.
Good. Anybody else? Do you have anybody that's okay?
Well, I got involved because I live in Palmyra, and every year at the Canaltown Days Parade, Towpath Volunteers would go by.
Boy.
We're just like, oh my goodness, those guys are so
They're so
incredible.
great.
They're so amazing. So our family decided to go and join, and I've loved it ever since.
It's kind of a family group. Sometimes families do join. I know our family did. When my kids were young, I joined with them. And we'll talk about that later, too. So very good. And I guess everybody will just have to stay tuned so you can see the rest of this group. They're doing some good work here, and you'll see some footage again, some footage of the whole group playing at different parades throughout the country. And so stay tuned. We'll be with you in a bit.
Brandywine.
Hi, you caught me practicing again. That's a rare thing these days. You know, it's interesting. People think, you know, if you're teaching guitar, you're playing a lot. But I know what happens in my case. I have to really carve out time in order to practice because, you know, with 30 or so students a week, you're spending a lot of time teaching. And when you're teaching, you're not always playing the things that are good for you to advance. A little bit later in another segment, I'm going to do a little bit on advancing and being where you are and what to work on. But today what I wanted to talk about are those 2-5-1 chords. Now in a lot of music, jazz especially, that progression, that 2-5-1 is one that you hear all over the place. Certain songs have 2-5-1s and repeat them in different keys, and you hear them all the time. But in the key of, let's say the key of C, I have a D minor 7, then I go to a G7, and then I can go to a C major 7. That was a 2-5-1. And those are just basic 4-note chords. Now those 4-note chords, I think I covered one time before, but it would behoove us. I love that word, behoove. And if you hear me use it, sit up and take notice because it's a really favorite word of mine. But anyway, it would behoove us to look at those again if I did look at them before. Let's take, for instance, a chord form where we have the root on the 6th string. I'm going to have the 7th on the 4th string, the 3rd on the 3rd string, and the 5th on the 2nd string. This is a G major 7. I have G, F sharp, B, D. That gives us a G major 7. Now, if I wanted to spell a G dominant 7 chord, or any dominant 7 chord, and I wanted to spell it from using that 1, 3, 5, 7 way of doing it, I would talk about that chord being a 1, 3, 5 flat 7. And like I said, on the 3rd string or the 4th string, I have that F sharp. If I flat that, making an F natural, it becomes a G7. Likewise, I can spell a minor 7 chord by thinking about flatting the 7th, but also flatting the 3rd. The 3rd and the 7th in a chord are very important. The 7th will give it the bite, whether it's a major 7. Here's a major 7. Here's a dominant 7. But the 3rd, if we flat it, gives us a tonality. So in other words, now it's no longer a major or a dominant sounding chord. It's a minor sounding chord. So those are the 3 that I can derive from there. There's 2 others I can derive, but for today's discussion, all we want to really look at are those 3. We want to look at a major 7, dominant 7, and a minor 7. And I'm going to do that a little quicker on other sets of strings. For instance, if I do the inside 4 strings, I have 1, 5, 7, 3. In this case, it's a C major 7. This being on the 3rd string being the 7, I could flat that and get a C dominant 7. And if I flat the 3rd, I have a C major 7. On the first set of 3 strings, I have a similar pattern, 1, 5, 7, 3. And again, if I flat the 7 and bring it down here, it's a dominant 7. This happens to be the F dominant 7. Now, if I flat the 3rd, I have an F minor 7. Notice on those chords, I never used any open strings. In some instances, I can use an open string if, for instance, I'm using an E minor 7 and I want to play the low E. Or if I bring that up here to an A minor 7 and play the A, that works. But in general, all of these have just closed strings. Whenever we have that, whether it be a power chord, a bar chord, or these 4-note configurations, we can move them and they become other chords based on whatever the root would be. For instance, here's a G major 7. A major 7, B major 7. Now, if you did the math on this, we have 3 different chord forms. Technically, we can get it anywhere on the fingerboard, gives us 12 different chords. 12 times 3 is 36. That's 36 different chords that you can play. It would seem an insurmountable chore to try to memorize all those, but there's always a way if you take and bring little bites out of it and use it on the fingerboard. And what I'm talking about, back to that 2-5-1 situation. Now in this case, I can pick any key and start with any chord form and go a 2-5-1. In this case, what I want to do is start on the A minor 7. Now if you do the math on that, you'll find out, you'll think, okay, A minor 7, if that's a 2, what would be the 1? Well, we go down a half step or a whole step, G major 7. So we're going to go from the A minor 7 to a G major 7. But in between, we're going to put a 5 chord. What would the 5 chord? What is the 5 chord for a G major 7, or in the G key of G? It would be a D7. So I'm starting out with this one form here, an A minor 7, and I'm going to go up to this D dominant 7 on the 5th fret. Then I'm going to go down to the G major 7, and I'm going to give one measure each to the 2 to 5, but on the 1 I'm going to give that 2. Now, to spread this out a little bit more and give you some kind of a little exercise to work on, I could then on the next measure change that to a G minor 7, which would now put me in the key of F, right? Here's where I'm going to go. So G minor 7, C major 7, F major 7. Notice I'm running out of fingerboard here. So if I wanted to, I could make a change, 3, 4, and now I'm using that other form, the one that's a 1, 2, 3, for the major 7. I'm going to turn that into a minor 7. It's going to be an F minor 7. That's put me in the key of E flat. The chord that I want to play there is a B flat 7 for the 5. And then I can play a E major 7 or E flat major 7. Then if I wanted to, and keep in mind, I can move these any way I want. I'm just picking out a way that I would be doing it as I think it. I'm now going to transfer up to here, that E flat major 7. E flat minor 7 is going to put us in the key of D flat. And while this sounds like a lot, as you get to it, as you look at it, it's really not, because the number 5 is an A flat 7. Then I'm going to go to a D flat major. Now we're going to go to that D flat major, but we have a weirdness happening there. So just stay with me on this. Now we're going to change this to a C sharp minor 7. It's the same thing, but now we're going to be in the key of B. And in the key of B, we have a C sharp minor 7, F sharp 7, B. And I'm going to change up to here. Then I'm going to go to the key of A, B minor 7, E7, yes, A major, and voila, we're back to the A minor 7. What we actually did there, we did 2 5-1s, and we dropped it one step each time we did it. Now, if we started that one fret higher, we'd come up with other keys, similar keys, a little different, give us a little different perspective. If we started with 1 half step lower, 1 fret lower, we'd also get a different perspective on that. And that's what guitar is, really. It's just a matter of perspective, where you're looking from. The 2-5-1, again, is a very, very usual thing, the thing that you see quite a bit. In another session in the future, I plan on doing substitution. So instead of, like, say, here's a D minor 7, G7, C major 7. I could put this, which is a D minor 9, and then I can go to this, D minor 9, and then, I'm sorry, I played the wrong chord. D minor 9, G7 with a flat 9, then a C6 9. Those are just substitutes. But we'll go into some of those substitutes and see some of the other things that we can do with that. But until next time, this is Uncle Nick saying, I'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Chain Cotillion.
Hello again, everybody. We are back again, and we are with our instrument showcase part of the show. And today, again, with the group, we have the founder and leader of the group. He's going to help tell us a little bit about how the drums that they use, the drums that they use on the show, and also in parade, and also small core groups that you do special ops. So he's going to tell us a little bit about the drums and how they originated and how they're built, I assume, right? Most of that?
Correct.
Right. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Paul, for a little bit, and then I'm going to come up and bug you a little bit, okay?
Sounds good to me,
No
Ray.
different than usual, right?
Sounds good.
Okay, there you go.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to talk a little bit about the drums that the Towpath Volunteers use. These are actually very close to what they would have had back in the days of the Revolutionary War. We have a calfskin drum head. The batter head's made of calfskin. The snares are made of cow gut. Really nice to think about. And the way the drum is tightened or tuned, instead of using like steel tension rods, they use rope, and by pushing down on the ears, tightens up the drum head to make it playable. The great thing about the calfskin in the days like the Civil War, Revolutionary War, that you can tuck a calfskin drum head on a counter hoop of pretty much any size, which made it very flexible, so the drums didn't always have to be perfectly round or certain size. Now, the sound of the drum is, like any drum today, is actually determined by the diameter of the drum. In other words, a 17-inch drum is going to have a deeper sound than a 4-inch drum or 5-inch drum or 15-inch drum. And of course, the length of it gives you more power. That gives the sound of the drums that the Fife and Drum Corps uses much more volume while marching down a parade, which makes it easier to hear. Now in this case, this drum is all made out of wood. It takes kind of consistently having to refurbish it, replace parts that are worn out, and is actually kind of expensive as compared to a modern marching band which uses plastic drum heads or uses made of fiberglass or metal. What we're going to do now is we're going to have Danny play. This is Danny Courtney, one of the senior drummers for the Towpath Volunteers. He's going to play a song demonstrating different ways using both the rim and the snare drum head itself to how it sounds. very nice, Daniel.
Boy, I tell you, I don't know if you enjoyed that as much as I did, but, well, that was amazing after all those years to learn something that I probably should have already known. But it is interesting that this is actually, I would call it a replica, I guess, but it's made the same way as they were made back. What year would you say these were first used?
These drums in particular, or?
No, not these in particular.
Well, the rope tension drum go back long before the Revolutionary War, so 1600s.
See, I didn't realize, I thought that was all decoration for all I knew. You know, I don't pay that much attention to it, but it actually is, it does tune, these ropes tune it.
That's correct.
And there's no, and the skins go, these are real calf skins, they're not set on metal, they actually,
These are actual calf skin heads. On a nice warm, low humidity day, sound really excellent. A nice cold day, they're as hard as rocks. And a rainy day, they're like paper.
okay. Now, what's the advantage between any of those kind of days? Or disadvantage?
The biggest advantage on a nice day, with warm day, with sunny, with low humidity, they sound better than anything else can sound.
Great. Is there a time where it could be a problem?
If it rains, when I say they're like paper, that's very true. They actually
Really?
break very easily.
See. Now, something like this I would think is kind of like a luthier, or I don't know what you call a drum person that makes drums. A person that makes drums, right?
I would say a person who makes drums would have to be considered a craftsman. The people who make our drums is actually a company that makes them for fife and drum corps throughout the country and in the world. It's called Cooperman Fife and Drum Company, and they're located in Vermont.
That's neat. So you do a lot of business with them, I take it?
We do more than probably a lot of groups do, because our group, being as large as it is, has probably more drummers than most fife and drum corps would have.
Well, it's very interesting on the drums. Sometime we'll have to come back with a segment on the fifes and some of the interesting details on the fife. But right now, thanks a lot. We appreciate you helping us out. Mr. Wilson, thank you. I've never called you Mr. Wilson before. Sounds good on TV. We'll say Mr. Wilson. Okay.
There you go, Ray. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Kingdom Coming.
Hello, everybody. I'm Ray Braselton, your host.
And I'm Nick Rita, co-host.
And this is the music show. And again, we're here with our round table. We had a very interesting time and fun time watching all the events going on with the with the fife and drum. I got to say, Towpath Volunteers from Macedon. But what would be the official name? Would that be it?
Well, we are the Towpath Volunteers Fife and Drum Corps, and we're based in Macedon with a membership that covers quite a bit of 5 counties around us, and then we have a few that even farther than that out.
This is Paul Wilson, the leader and founder of the group. And of course, we have Patricia Rowland. And she's been on our show before, haven't you?
I have.
Demonstrating wind instruments. I believe.
That's right, yeah, woodwind instruments.
Right. And but the group did a very good job today. We sure appreciated you bringing them. We had the smaller group, the corps, the color
honor
guard,
guard.
The honor guard.
honor guard, right? And so we're going to talk a little bit about how it formed and your involvement with it. Maybe a little bit of mine, and we'll see where we go.
You want to cover the mailbag?
Yes, let's cover the mailbag first.
I'm glad we got this one
Yeah,
with Paul being here.
yeah, just perfect too.
Exactly.
But Sam asks, how do you get started, and what is the best way to learn the drums?
The drums is not a very difficult instrument to play, and I don't want anybody, fifers to hear that, but the drum is more teaching your muscles how to move. And when I actually have people start the drums, I'll start with very basic, generally it's using drills, and it's more of getting your hands to do what you want them to do when you want them to do it. I usually start kids the first couple weeks on a pair of drumsticks on playing on a phone book. And for two reasons. First of all, a phone book is much quieter when you hit it, so it doesn't drive the parents crazy. And secondly, when you hit it, you actually have to use your muscles to pick the stick back up. So it's not only going down, but picking the stick up, so you're actually increasing your muscle strength and coordination quicker by playing on a phone book. And a few weeks after that, then we go to a drum pad, which makes it more realistic like a drum.
Right, right.
When do
Pad
you
gets bounce.
Yeah,
Correct.
I'm just going to ask, when do you, but the bouncing, isn't there bouncing involved with some of that? And when do you introduce that?
A lot depends how quickly you can learn to play. We start out with 3 drills called singles, doubles, and triples, and how quickly you pick up on those determines how quickly you go to like the bounce.
How quickly do you get to a set?
If a student wanted to be a set player, we get started on the set right away.
Oh, okay.
But the biggest part of your practice was going to revolve around practicing on a phone book to start with.
Right.
And I take it you're a teacher then,
Yes, I've actually taught
for a few years.
a few years at a small drum store in Marion called Braselton's Music.
I've heard of that place.
Wait, he said a drum store. Where does that put us?
That left us out of the picture, didn't it?
Actually,
Well, yes.
there are actually on the stage represent the majority of the staff of the teachers.
Patricia.
That's right.
Braselton's,
She's our
right.
wind teacher. And piano.
And piano.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, a little bit of piano.
And
But
instruments.
just interesting that we happen to have you on the show, isn't it? Well, we've been waiting to do this for a long time, haven't we? And it's really turned out really nice, and I'm so glad that you guys allowed us to have you on the show. But we must go ahead now and talk about a little bit. Again, let's talk about the leader and founder. Oh, by the way, don't forget,
The mailbag.
The mailbag.
The address for the mailbag.
it's right under your screen. You can't miss it. See, it's right there.
And we dare you
Yeah.
to write something in. We
Yes.
can answer any question you have.
As long as Paul's here,
Yikes.
no problem, okay? So write us in, or write into us,
Nice.
right? And we'll see if we can answer it for you. Okay. You can go back to work now, Mike. Okay, now, but we're going to talk about to Paul, because Paul is actually I was involved with the Towpath probably 25 years ago, and it was going strong before that, I believe. And it was a large group when I came in. Now, that was, can I ask the date and exactly how it got started and
Yeah,
stuff
well,
like
actually, the Towpath Volunteers, we actually held our first practice in the fall of 1977. We used 1978 as our anniversary date, as that's the first time we actually played in public.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually started with several people. I think there's about 5 of us that got together and decided that we wanted to do a fife and drum corps. And my father actually helped finance us to start with, to give us some money to get buy some instruments. And we started with a small group of probably maybe 20 people. And each year we've grown. And today we are a group of probably slightly over 100 people, consisting of 3 different corps, and it's come a long way.
Yeah, tell us about those, maybe Patricia, you can tell us a little bit about the 3 different corps involved with the whole group.
Sure. Well, we have the junior corps. So if somebody is interested in playing a fife or a drum, lessons are provided for
How much
40
do they cost?
It's free. It's completely free. The first 45 minutes of our practice sessions on Wednesday are dedicated to the junior corps. So you'll have a bunch of people that are teaching the fifers, and you have Paul here who's teaching the drummers. And then after you become more proficient at the instrument, then there's the senior corps, which also, in addition to the fifes and the drums, includes the color guard and the camp followers and the militia as well.
And what are the camp followers?
The camp followers, if you see a parade and you'll see a couple of people that will be holding the banner, that's what they call the camp followers.
Okay. And oh, there we go. Maybe Mike can get a shot of that picture. And they're in the front. They're holding the sign, and they're dressed in old attire, 1800s. Pretty neat.
You
can
say
get a little
they're dressed
closer.
in an old tire?
No,
in a good year?
attire.
Oh.
Yeah, that's pretty neat.
shot.
And so the bulk of the performances are done by the senior corps. That's the largest group. For some people who would like to perform a little bit more, there's also the honor guard, which is the group that you had on your show earlier.
Right.
And there's also a drum line that's starting. And so again, that's just drums, and they'll be performing as well.
And you're actually pretty much involved with as far as the color guard.
The honor guard.
Honor guard. I keep on calling it the wrong one. The honor guard. You're the head of that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. I know that I remember years ago doing the firemen's parades. Do you still do a lot of firemen's parades in the area, or not as much? I don't know.
Probably not as much. The firemen's parades have really more gone away. I don't know if it's because of the insurance for the alcohol or what it is,
Yeah.
but firemen's parades are definitely not anywhere as near as much a biggest percentage of our schedule anymore. We do a lot more specialty events, festivals, and dedications and things like that nowadays.
And I have to say, it's kind of a shame that there aren't as many of the firemen's parades. We are in one of the last places where they still have that tradition. I remember going off to college and was very surprised to open up a sociology book and see firemen's parades actually mentioned there, with the towns of Marion and Palmyra listed.
Yeah. Well, I'm from California originally, and I never heard of a volunteer fire department until I moved to New York. So it's just something right there. Well, you were talking about different places you play, but I know you've played for some pretty important people and also some public officials. I didn't mean anything by that, but also public officials. They're very important.
Yeah.
And I thought you'd show. Well,
This is a picture that we actually played for Nancy Reagan. We have also played for Ronald Reagan in their campaign visits to Rochester area. And this is a picture from, was it
I thought it was 80s.
1984,
Yeah.
with Ronald Reagan, where we played for him at the airport. If I recall right, I think you were there at that time.
Yeah, I was doing that. That was what was neat about it is that we got asked personally by the security, the secret agents, that Ronald Reagan wanted to ask if we wouldn't mind staying around so that we could do his, what would you call it, his going away songs.
And I also have a couple pictures here of when we played for Nancy Reagan. The picture on this side over here has a very young Paul Wilson at the time.
And
Probably-
handsome we may
Probably
add.
handsome, I will say. Probably 19 or 20 years old. So that's been quite a while. So we did play for both Nancy and Ronald Reagan early in our careers as a fife and drum corps, and it was probably a good stepping stone to get us where we are today.
Sure, must have been. Now you also had, I know you, I was going to ask probably if you could tell us like the 3 most memorable type parades or events that you did, and I know that some of them might have to do with parades.
Sure. To me, the 3 most amazing events that have been in my lifetime with the Fife and Drum Corps, the Towpath Volunteers, probably our first parade, which was in Naples in 1978, to see a group of kids who hadn't hardly marched at all in the street. And we were all very young at the time. Most of us probably the kids who were 7th, 8th graders. And to get together and go out and march in a parade was, to me, just probably the greatest highlight of my career with Towpath Volunteers. But there's been other events, too, that have been very high on my list of events. Probably the second biggest favorite event that I have was the first of our 4 visits to the Disney World. We led the Electric Light Parade. And we lined up behind this big gate so nobody could see us coming. And they opened these big doors. It was an evening parade, so it was dark out. And all these people were standing there with their cameras taking pictures of us. And there were so many flash bulbs going off that we couldn't see what we were doing. We couldn't see the drum major. You couldn't see the person in front of you. That was an amazing event, which is, to me, probably can never be topped until we did the Macy's Parade in New York City. And the Macy's Parade is probably the top of any group's accomplishments, because they only have 12 bands in it. And to be one of those 12 bands from all around the world is a special
honor.
And for us to go down there with 54 people, I believe, was pretty decent.
I was very proud of you guys when I saw that. I actually was flipping the channels, looking for the right station, and I had been on that channel for the parade and couldn't find you for an hour. And left the room and came back in, and all of a sudden, you were on TV.
Yeah.
And that was exciting.
What year was that? Do you remember?
Yeah, that was in 2004. This is a picture that was actually printed through the Palmyra paper, but it was a picture from CNN that they had broadcast or they had used for their publishing. So it's pretty decent that the fact that we, were on 2 major networks, plus CNN had a picture of us that they used also.
Fascinating, just unbelievable.
And this is actually the group of people that went, and to show how large we were. Towpath Volunteers is a large fife drum corps, not just in our area, but it's probably one of the largest in both in the country, or if not in the world.
I believe you. And right here from Maston, that's what's amazing, New York. It's really neat. And then you have one more picture there. Did you want to show the whole group? Or
Yeah,
do you have a couple
actually-
more here you want to show first?
Actually, this is, in fact, I'll let Patty talk about it.
About this?
Well, here, you just want to start with this one.
Oh, this one. So this was St. Patrick's Day in Savannah, Georgia. We got a chance to go down there. This is a picture just as we were going to line up, and one of the band that was next to us was from Ireland. And so what you see here is a picture with the Towpath Volunteers, and then you see a red and white banner next to that, and that's actually a high school band coming out of Ireland.
When they came out, they came down the street and they kind of where they lined up and they played a song, and they're right next to us. So then we played a song, and for several minutes it went on back and forth. They play a song and we play a song, and it was amazing because then the kids kind of broke up and mingled between each other and talked. And they looked at our instruments, we looked at theirs, and it was really a great time for the kids. They'll actually spend time with a band from Ireland who looked at us like we were just amazing.
Yeah, not bad.
And that was like I said, that was 1984. And this is a shot of the entire group that we took immediately after the parade. And we were exhausted. It was a 3.5-mile parade, and it had 28 corners.
28 corners? I think it was 28 corners.
But it was great because in Savannah, Georgia, in March, nice and warm.
Big crowd.
Big crowd, very enjoyable.
Very rewarding. Very rewarding. Paul, how many more pictures we have?
I have just two more that I'd like to, well, three actually. There's a fife and drum corps, and this, I don't know how well you see this picture. The U.S. Army has a fife and drum corps called the Old Guard. These are the elite of the elite. You see the Old Guard Fife and Drum Corps from Arlington, Virginia. They are amazing. And they were in Rochester a couple years ago, putting on a show. What was it called?
Spirit of America.
Spirit of America shows. Actually, they put this show on 3 times in 3 different places every year. They do it. And they're lucky they put it in Rochester. And we had the opportunity to go up and actually jam with them. Well, after they got done rehearsing, we went up and we jammed with them for several hours. And I think they probably had more enjoyment playing with us than they had the whole day of practicing this rehearsal. So that was a wonderful time for the group. They enjoyed it a lot. Just 2 more quick photos. This is a photo, and it's not so much for the corps, but for the lady holding the banner. There's a lady on this side of the picture holding the banner, on this side over here, that is actually one of our fifers. She went to learn to hang glide, and on her landing, she had a little issue, and the hang glider fell on her arm and broke it, actually very badly. And I think she missed a couple parades at the most, and we couldn't keep her down. Her name is Linda Depew. She's one of the leaders of the group.
Oh, yeah.
And she ended up carrying the banner because she wanted to be part of the group.
Yeah. I carried the banner for you several times, too.
Yes, you did. And you did a very good job of it.
Thank you.
Until we moved you back to the bugle section.
That's another story.
And last but not least, this is a very special photo to me. It's actually a picture of a paper. This is a picture of my daughter, whose first picture with the corps had to be about 5 or 6 months, maybe a little bit older than that. Maybe she's around 1. And she marched from the time she was, well, in her pictures from the time she was 1, and she marched right up through the Macy's Day Parade.
It's fantastic. It's amazing how long the kids stay with the group, and families work together too in the group. And I know because my family did the same thing. It was a wonderful experience. I guess at this point, you did mention about the bugle. You can see on the round table that there's a bugle because at one time you did have a bugle corps, and I led it for a bit, and it didn't last very long, did it?
Well,
I did after I left. I think you did.
It lasted for a while. It was being that the Old Guard has bugles in their group, and they are the elite. We wanted to pattern ourselves similar to them, so we tried the bugles for several years, but then it kind of petered out.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, if you ever want to be involved with a real family organization, this is the best organization you can imagine. It's very family-oriented, like I said, but it's fun, it's exciting. You go all kinds of trips all over the place. You meet all kinds of very important people. You've even played at the White House, I believe.
We played for the White House when Jimmy Carter was president.
Right, and so you've seen and done a lot of things, and just so glad you could do the show for us today. And look, you have a website, don't you? Do you want to mention that?
We do have a website. If you went and did either a Google search of Towpath Volunteers or went to towpathvolunteers.org, you would find our website. It has all kinds of information. If you're interested in joining or hiring us, there's contact information, how you can get a hold of us. If you want to email us, we're available at the info@towpathvolunteers.org, and we'd get back to you as quickly as we possibly could.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Paul, for finally being on the show, waiting for you to be on for the longest time. We got you on. Thank you very much.
This has been one of the most fun we had in a
Patricia.
long time.
Thank you.
Nick.
Thank you very much.
Sir.
Yeah, it has been a lot of fun.
It's been nice.
Okay, so that's our show for today, everybody. Come and join us again next week on The Music Show.
You're watching public access television for Western New York.